My phone buzzes at 3 in the afternoon. Another photo from my cousin Beth. This time it's my ex-husband at some rooftop bar in Nashville, surrounded by women who look like they stepped out of a music video. He's wearing a leather jacket I've never seen before, his wedding ring finger deliberately displayed. Empty. The caption reads, "Saw Nathan at the Westin last night." Different girl than last week. 6 months ago, Nathan would have been at his woodworking shop, covered in sawdust, building custom furniture for our dream house. 6 months ago, he wore the same 3 flannel shirts on rotation and thought a wild Friday night meant trying a new craft beer. 6 months ago, he was mine. I'm the one who taught him he wasn't enough. I stare at the photo from my efficiency apartment in Jacksonville, Florida, where the air conditioning rattles and I moved after losing everything. Nathan's arm is around a brunette in a dress that costs more than my monthly rent. His smile is different now. Practiced, calculating, cold. The kind of smile that says he knows exactly what he's doing and doesn't care who gets hurt. That smile used to be just for me. Warm, genuine, slightly crooked because he'd chipped a tooth helping his brother move. Now it's a weapon he uses on women who don't know they're just another number in his phone. But I'm getting ahead of... No, let me start properly. From the beginning, from when I had everything and decided it was nothing. Nathan and I met when we were 25. I was working at a marketing firm in Memphis, fresh out of college and convinced I was destined for greatness. He was the contractor renovating our office space. While my co-workers and I complained about the noise and dust, Nathan worked quietly, methodically, transforming our outdated workspace into something beautiful. "Sorry about the mess," he said one morning, catching me staring at the custom shelving he was installing. "I'll have it cleaned up before you need to use this area." He was different from the guys I usually dated. No flashy car, no expensive watch, no stories about exclusive clubs or important connections. Just steady hands that could build anything, and eyes that looked at me like I was already perfect. "It's beautiful," I said, running my hand along the smooth wood. "Did you design this yourself?" His face lit up as he explained the grain patterns, the joinery techniques, the way he'd chosen each piece of wood specifically for this project. I found myself arriving early every day just to watch him work, to hear him talk about his craft with such passion. 3 months later, we were dating. 6 months after that, engaged. By our first anniversary, married. Everyone said we were moving too fast. But when you know, you know. Or at least, I thought I knew. The first few years were everything I'd dreamed of. Nathan started his own custom furniture business, working out of our garage until he could afford to rent a shop. I climbed the corporate ladder at my firm, bringing home stories of office politics and client drama that he'd listened to patiently every night over dinner. "You're amazing," he'd say, even when all I'd done was survive another day of meetings. "I don't know how you handle all that pressure." He made our life beautiful in quiet ways. Every Saturday morning, fresh flowers from the farmer's market appeared on our kitchen table. Sunday breakfasts were elaborate productions, homemade pancakes, fresh squeezed orange juice, eggs exactly how I liked them. When I had bad days, I'd come home to find he'd built something new for our house. Floating shelves for my books, a wine rack for the bottles I collected but rarely drank, a jewelry box with hidden compartments. "You don't have to keep making things for me," I told him once, watching him sand a picture frame he'd crafted from reclaimed barn wood. "I like to," he said simply. "Making things for you makes me happy." That was Nathan. Simple, straightforward, devoted. He had rituals that used to charm me. Every morning he'd bring me coffee in bed, 2 sugars, splash of cream, in the handmade mug he'd commissioned from a local potter for my birthday. He'd sit on the edge of the bed while I drank it, telling me about his plans for the day, asking about mine. Such a small thing, but it meant starting every day feeling loved. On Wednesdays, he'd close the shop early to pick me up for lunch. "Middle of the week check-in," he called it. We'd go to this little sandwich place near my office, And he'd listen to me vent about my boss, my coworkers, my impossible deadlines. He never tried to fix anything, just listened and nodded and held my hand across the table. "You know what I love about you?" I said one Wednesday, maybe 3 years into our marriage. "What's that?" he asked, genuinely curious like he always was about my thoughts. "You're my safe place. No matter how crazy work gets, I know you're here." He squeezed my hand. "Always will be." But somewhere around year 4, safe started to feel like stagnation. By year 5, stagnation had soured into stuck, and that simplicity started to feel like suffocation. "Don't you want more?" I asked him one night after he'd turned down an invitation to my company's annual gala. "You never want to go anywhere, do anything." "I went to your office party last month," he reminded me, "and we went to that wine tasting you wanted to try." "Those don't count. I mean real experiences, travel, adventure, something spontaneous." He gestured around our living room at the furniture he'd built, the life we'd created. "This is what I want. You, our home, our life together. Isn't that enough?" It should have been. God knows it should have been. But I'd started noticing things. The way my coworkers talked about their weekends, concerts, clubs, last-minute trips to Miami or New York. The way men looked at me at conferences, like I was wasting my youth on someone who'd rather build a bookshelf than book a flight to somewhere exciting. "We're not even 30 yet," I told my friend Chloe over drinks. "And I feel like I'm living my grandmother's life." "Nathan's a good guy," she said carefully. "Good is boring," I snapped. "When's the last time he surprised me? When's the last time we did something that wasn't planned a week in advance?" Chloe, twice divorced and working on her 3rd engagement, probably wasn't the best person to take relationship advice from. But she understood restlessness in a way my married friends didn't. "You only live once," she said, ordering us another round. "If you're not happy, why stay?" The thing is, I was happy. Or I should have been. Nathan loved me completely, unquestioningly. He worked hard, saved money, planned for our future. He wanted kids. 2, maybe 3. He'd already sketched designs for a crib, a rocking chair, a toy chest. Our garage was full of wood he'd been collecting for when the time was right. But I wasn't ready for the time to be right. I wasn't ready for my life to be so settled, so predictable, so decided. I started going out more without him. Happy hours that turned into late nights. Weekend trips with my single friends to Atlanta, New Orleans, Miami. Nathan never complained, never made me feel guilty. "Have fun," he'd say, kissing me goodbye. "Text me when you land." "Don't you care that I'm gone so much?" I asked once, almost hoping for a fight. "I trust you," he said simply. "And I want you to be happy. If going out with your friends makes you happy, then go." His trust made me feel worse somehow. Like he wasn't even worried about losing me. Like he was so secure in what we had that he couldn't imagine it ending. I started picking fights about stupid things. The way he wore the same clothes every day. How he never wanted to try the new restaurants I suggested. How content he was with our life when I felt like I was suffocating. "We could go to Thailand," I said one night, showing him travel blogs on my phone. "Just drop everything and go." "We could," he agreed. "Let me look at the schedule, see when I can move some orders around." "Maybe in a few months?" "That's exactly the problem," I exploded. "Everything has to be planned. You can't just be spontaneous." "I have commissions, Mallory." People are counting on me. "What about me?" "What about what I'm counting on?" He looked genuinely confused. "What are you counting on?" "Tell me and I'll make it happen." But I couldn't articulate it. I wanted him to just know, to sense my restlessness and transform into someone else. Someone who'd book surprise trips and whisk me away from my ordinary life. Someone who'd make my friends jealous with grand gestures and dramatic romance. Instead, he kept being Nathan. Steady, reliable, devoted Nathan who thought romance meant building me a window seat, so I'd have better light for reading. The end started with Dylan. Dylan was a consultant brought in to modernize our company's systems. He breezed into Memphis from San Francisco with designer clothes and stories about startups and venture capital. Where Nathan was solid and steady, Dylan was Quicksilver, always moving, always talking, always on to the next thing. "You're too talented for this place," he told me during our first project meeting. "You should be in a real city, making real money." I should have shut it down, should have mentioned my husband, my life, my commitments. Instead, I found myself having lunch with him, then drinks, then dinner. "Tell me about your dreams," Dylan said one night over expensive sushi. "What do you really want?" Nobody had asked me that in years. With Nathan, the dreams were always plural. Our dreams, our plans, our future. But what did I want? Just me? "I want to matter," I heard myself saying. "I want to do something important, be somewhere important. I want people to know my name." "Then why are you hiding in Memphis?" he asked. "Why are you playing house when you could be playing in the big leagues?" That night, I went home to find Nathan in the garage, working on a dining table. He'd been crafting it for months. A surprise for our anniversary. The wood was gorgeous, the craftsmanship perfect. It would last generations. "How was your day?" he asked, not looking up from his work. I watched him for a moment. This man who loved me, who built our life with his own hands, board by board, joint by joint. And I felt nothing but trapped. I started staying late at the office when Dylan was there. We'd work on presentations, order takeout, talk about everything except the growing tension between us. He'd tell me about the companies he'd consulted for, the executives he knew, the opportunities waiting in California. "Your husband's a lucky man," he said one night when I finally mentioned Nathan. "Does he know how extraordinary you are?" "He thinks I'm amazing for making it through budget meetings," I said, and we both laughed like Nathan's simple admiration was something quaint. The kiss happened 3 weeks after Dylan arrived. We were alone in the conference room, celebrating landing a difficult client. He opened champagne, real champagne, not the sparkling wine Nathan and I bought for special occasions. "To Mallory," he said, raising his glass. "Who's too big for this small life?" The kiss was everything my marriage wasn't. Dangerous, uncertain, electric. When Dylan pulled away, I knew I'd already made my choice. "I'm married," I said, the words feeling like an afterthought. "To someone who doesn't deserve you," Dylan replied. I didn't correct him. Didn't defend Nathan. Didn't mention the coffee in bed or the handmade furniture, or the way he looked at me like I was his whole world. Those things suddenly seemed so small compared to the life Dylan was offering. A life of possibility, importance, excitement. "I need more," I said. He set down his tools, turned to face me. "More what?" "More everything. More excitement, more opportunity, more life. This isn't enough anymore, Nathan. You're not enough anymore." The words hung in the air like sawdust. I watched his face change, watched the life drain from his eyes as he processed what I'd just said. It wasn't anger or shock, just a quiet shuddering, like a light being switched off from inside. He didn't argue, didn't defend himself. He just nodded slowly, as if he were confirming a diagnosis he'd long suspected. "Is there someone else?" he asked quietly. "No," I lied. "This is about me, about what I need." "What do you need?" "Space. Time to figure out who I am when I'm not just your wife." He was quiet for a long time, studying the table he'd been building for us, running his hand along the smooth surface like he was saying goodbye to it. "I thought we were happy," he said finally. "I thought what we had was enough." "It's not your fault," I said, the words sounding hollow even to me. "You're a good man, Nathan. You'll make someone else very happy someday." He flinched at that. "I don't want to make someone else happy." "I want to make you happy. Tell me what to do and I'll do it." "You want to travel? We'll travel. You want excitement? I'll try to be more exciting." The desperation in his voice almost broke my resolve. This man who'd never begged for anything was begging for me, but I'd already tasted what else was out there. I'd already imagined a different life. "It's too late," I said. "I've already made up my mind." "What about everything we've built?" He gestured around the garage at the pieces of our life he'd literally crafted with his hands. 5 years, Mallory? Doesn't that mean anything?" "Of course it means something, but I can't stay just because of history. I need a future that excites me." "And I don't excite you." It wasn't a question. I couldn't answer. How do you tell someone that their steadfast love has become a weight? That their reliability feels like restriction? That you've mistaken contentment for complacency and now you can't tell the difference? "I'll stay at a hotel tonight," I said instead. "We can figure out the details later." I packed a bag while Nathan sat on our bed, watching me fold clothes into a suitcase he'd bought me for our honeymoon. Neither of us spoke. What was there to say? I'd already said the words that mattered. He wasn't enough. That's how it started. Me moving into a hotel, telling myself it was temporary, just until I figured things out. Dylan was thrilled, of course. Suddenly I was available for late nights, weekend trips, the kind of spontaneous adventures I'd been craving. "Now you're living," he said as we flew to Vegas on a random Friday. "This is what you've been missing." Except Vegas was loud and gaudy and exhausting. The clubs Dylan loved gave me headaches. The people he introduced me to were shallow and sharp-edged, always looking past you for someone more important. "When are you going back to San Francisco?" I asked after 2 weeks of this new life. "Next month," he said casually. "You should come with me." "Memphis is a dead end for someone like you." "What about us?" I asked. He laughed. Actually laughed. "Us? Come on, we're having fun. Don't make it more than it is." That's when I understood. I'd thrown away my marriage for a man who saw me as entertainment. I'd told my husband he wasn't enough for someone who didn't think I was worth more than a few weeks of distraction. I tried to go home. Showed up at our house with apologies and promises, ready to beg Nathan to take me back. But he'd already started packing his things. "I'm keeping the shop, selling the house," he said, not looking at me. "You can have whatever furniture you want." "Nathan, please! I made a mistake. We can work through this." He finally met my eyes, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Indifference. "You told me I wasn't enough," he said. "Do you know what that does to a person? To know that everything you are, everything you've built, everything you've given, it's not enough?" "I didn't mean it," I whispered. "Yes, you did. And you were right. I'm not enough. I'm just a guy who builds furniture and loves his wife." "Loved," he corrected. "That's not exciting. It's not important. It's not worth staying for." The divorce was quick, clean. Nathan gave me exactly half of everything, just like the law required. Nothing more, nothing less. He was coldly efficient about it, like he was measuring wood for a cut. Precise, emotionless, final. I kept tabs on him through mutual friends, social media, family connections. At first, the reports were predictable. Nathan was focusing on work, expanding his business, keeping to himself. Then, about 2 months after our divorce was finalized, something changed. "Saw Nathan at Beale Street last night," my cousin texted, "with some blonde." They left together. A week later, Nathan's got a new truck. Lifted, custom everything, looks like a different person. The photos started trickling in. Nathan at bars, at parties, at places he'd never wanted to go when we were together. Always with a different woman, always with that new smile, the one that didn't reach his eyes. My friend Sarah ran into him at a hotel bar in Atlanta. She called me immediately after. "Mallory, what happened to Nathan?" "He hit on me. M.E. He knows I'm married, knows I'm your friend, and he didn't care. Bought me a drink, told me I was too beautiful to be sitting alone. When I reminded him who I was, he just shrugged and said, 'Mallory taught me not to get too attached to anyone.'" That's when I realized what I'd done. I hadn't just ended our marriage. I'd broken something fundamental in Nathan. The man who used to believe in forever now believed in nothing. "He's turned into such a player," my sister reported after seeing him in Nashville. "Different girl every weekend. He was at the W Hotel with some Instagram model type. Apparently he told her he doesn't do relationships anymore, just fun. Can you believe that?" I could believe it. I'd taught him that lesson myself. The worst part came 3 months ago. I was in town for a work conference and saw Nathan's truck outside a restaurant. Against my better judgment, I went in, found him at the bar with a redhead who couldn't have been older than 25. "Nathan," I said. He glanced at me with those indifferent eyes. "Mallory, this is—" "Sorry, what was your name again?" he asked the girl. She looked hurt. "Jessica." "Right, Jessica," he turned back to me. "Did you need something? Can we talk?" "Privately?" He laughed, that new cold laugh. "I don't do private talks anymore. Learned that lesson. But hey, thanks for the education. Turns out you were right. Settling down is boring. This is much more fun." I watched him leave with Jessica, watched him become exactly what I'd thought I wanted. Someone who lived for the moment, who didn't plan beyond tonight, who treated people as disposable as I'd treated him. My mother told me last week that Nathan's business is booming. He's got a showroom now, celebrity clients, a waiting list that's months long. He dates models and actresses and CEOs, women who would have intimidated the old Nathan. He takes them to exclusive restaurants, flies them to exotic locations, gives them exactly the kind of excitement I'd craved. Then he moves on to the next one. "He's become everything you wanted," my mother said, not hiding her disapproval. "Happy now?" But I'm not happy. I'm living in Jacksonville, working for a company that doesn't know my name, in an apartment that still smells like the previous tenant's cats. I go on dates with men who are either boring like Nathan used to be or exciting like Nathan is now, and neither feels right. Because I understand now what I didn't then. Nathan wasn't boring. He was content. He knew who he was, what he wanted, what mattered. He built things to last in a world full of temporary pleasures. His love was like his furniture, solid, beautiful, crafted with patience and skill. I taught him that wasn't valuable. That stability was stagnation, that devotion was dull, that building a life with someone wasn't as important as building a reputation. Now he builds nothing that lasts. His relationships are particle board, pretty on the surface, but they fall apart under pressure. He's exactly what I said I wanted him to be, what I left him to find. Someone who prioritizes excitement over connection, who chooses novelty over depth, who never stays long enough to be boring. I've created a monster, not because Nathan is cruel. He's upfront about his intentions, never promises more than he plans to give, but because I took a good man who believed in love and taught him it wasn't worth believing in. I showed him that years of devotion mean nothing if you can't compete with the promise of something new. My phone buzzes again. Another photo from Beth. Nathan at some charity gala, tuxedo perfect, surrounded by the kind of people I used to believe were important. He's got his arm around a senator's daughter, according to Beth. She's beautiful, of course. They always are. And none of them will ever matter. "He never loved me like he loved you," Beth writes. "Now he doesn't love anyone." I stare at the photo, at this stranger wearing my ex-husband's face. Somewhere under that leather jacket and calculated smile is the man who used to wake up at dawn to pick wildflowers for my nightstand. The man who spent 6 months building me a jewelry box because I mentioned once that I'd always wanted one. The man who believed that loving someone completely was the greatest adventure of all. I did this. I took his contentment and called it complacency. I took his devotion and called it dullness. I took his love and told him it wasn't enough. Now Nathan has everything I thought I wanted. Excitement, variety, freedom. He lives the life I left him to find. And from the photos, from the stories, from the glimpses I catch of him living his best life, I can see the truth. He's as empty as I am. But at least he learned his lesson. Love isn't worth the risk. Building something real isn't worth the effort. Being enough for someone is impossible, so why try? I taught him well. 6 months since I created a monster. 6 months since I destroyed a good man because I was bored. 6 months since I learned that restlessness isn't the same as ambition, and that excitement without love is just noise. Nathan's probably with someone new tonight. Someone who thinks she's special, who doesn't know she's just another lesson in his education about not caring too much. Tomorrow or next week or next month, he'll move on, leaving her wondering what she did wrong. Nothing. She did nothing wrong. She just believed in a man who no longer believes in anything lasting. Because I taught him that nothing lasts. Because I taught him that even 5 years of perfect love can be undone by restlessness. Because I taught him that being a good man who builds furniture and loves his wife completely isn't enough. Now he's more than enough for women who will never be allowed close enough to matter. He gives them excitement and adventure and experiences that mean nothing the next morning. He's become exactly what the world convinced me I should want. And we're both emptier for it. I scroll through his business Instagram, the only social media he kept. Pictures of beautiful furniture, celebrity clients, grand openings. In every photo, that same calculated smile. Professional, distant, safe. There's one photo from 2 years ago, before everything changed. Nathan in his workshop, genuinely grinning at the camera, covered in sawdust and pride. The caption reads, "Building something special for someone special." That was the dining room table, the one he spent months crafting for our anniversary. I sold it in the divorce, along with everything else he'd made for me. Traded it all for freedom, for excitement, for more. Now I have less than I ever imagined. And Nathan? Nathan has everything except the ability to believe that building something special for someone special is worth the effort. I did that. I created this version of him, successful, exciting, empty. A man who builds beautiful furniture but will never again build a life with anyone. 6 months since I got exactly what I deserved. He got his freedom, and I got mine. A lifetime left to watch the consequences of my restlessness play out in the ruins of a good man's heart.